Bam! And welcome to Mike Sports. I'm so excited to be here today. Finally, we're going to talk some sports tonight. I know everybody's dying to talk all about the KBO and the Korean Baseball League. They got started up, they beat Corona, and they're back in action. Excited for them. Oh, is that not what everybody wants to talk about?
I'm still admiring myself. Are we live? All right.
Yeah. We're on the air. We're going good.
Dude, I feel like it's like there's lots to talk about, but because there's nothing actually going on physical,
Right.
it's like this weird mental block with sports right now.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Major League Baseball, they're talking about, starting back up around the 4th of July. I still think that's going to happen because the major concern doesn't seem to be any of the health risks or
Right.
people test players. It all just seems to be about the money. And I
Right.
got to believe that the owners are going to sit there and be like, okay, look, guys, anything's more than nothing, so let's just get this going.
Dude, you're not kidding, man. I mean, when you look across anything right now, I would say NBA is probably done. I don't see NBA. I see baseball being like a maybe. And I see football being like there better be. It's how I look at football. Like,
Yeah.
and I heard an interesting comment about college, and it was okay. Let's say the Northeast is still having a bunch of issues. Well, then the rest of the football season in other states, college-wise, should still play football. And some are saying, well, no, if it's not going to be everybody, no, they should. And then other people are saying, no, let everybody else start and let those people start later in the season. And we'll just figure out something from there so that there's still actually a season. I say let everybody open up who's able to open up and those who can't.
Yeah, and I mean, I would also have the idea of the areas where they can't see if you can get those kids to areas where they could play. If Penn State, for example, were to have to play all their home games, like I don't know, in some field in West Virginia or something like that, just to get them into a safe spot.
In my opinion, everybody should play in Arizona. Everybody. The heat kills it. It can't survive heat. Get everybody in the hottest damn place in the world.
Also, I figure you guys ought to be good down there in Texas.
Exactly. Let's have the Super Bowl in Mojave Desert. Like, whatever we got to do. I'm selfish. I want football. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, seriously, dude. And I mean, I can't imagine, the NFL has said that, they worked very closely with the CDC and all the medical professionals with coming up with their schedule because they had ideas on ways to kind of build in some outs for themselves.
Right.
Like one of the rumors was that, they were going to start off the first 4 weeks were going to be nothing but non-conference games. Like if they said, if all of a sudden it came down to, hey, you're not going to be able to start till October, they'd say, okay, you know what? We're slicing off those 4 games and we're going to go with a 12-game schedule. And, you're just not playing your conference games.
Yeah.
Or your non-conference games. So, but then they didn't do that. And then, that's the schedule. The schedule they came out with, last week, they said there is no, backup plan. There's no secondary schedule. This is their schedule. If public health and everything comes down and says you can't start on time, then what they would do is push things back and, say if they had to push it back 3 weeks, then, okay, they start at, say, week 4, and that's where they are in the schedule, and then they would try to play those other games at the back end.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think there's a lot of good ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It's health at the end of the day. No one even knows how to beat this thing yet. There's no vaccine or anything. I don't think it's necessarily everybody being worried about getting it. It's about if we get it and there was a vaccine, no one would really care. I think we treat it like the flu. Like, there's a good chance everybody gets it, but most places know how to work with the flu. But the problem is we don't have anything. So if everything's going good, I posted on my thing. It's a little off subject, but I posted on my Facebook not too long ago. Might have been a couple days ago. The triple rainbow guy, the big rainbow video guy, who were like, oh my god, a triple rainbow on YouTube. He has like over 2 billion views or whatnot.
Yeah.
He was doing a YouTube thing of, hey, I got tested for COVID-19. I had no symptoms, no cough, no nothing. Dude was dead 3 days later. I mean, it's one of those things where you just don't see it coming. It gets you. and you don't have all those typical flu symptoms. And I think people are just scared that, you come in contact in football, you break sweat with someone, you get droplets on you,
Sure.
you feel fine, and then 3 days later your kids have no father. And I get that argument. I mean, when you put it that way, it makes a lot of sense. But I'm also like, the world at some point has to strike a balance here. Life has to begin to move forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like this living in fear, like living in a bubble in an area where I have a job where I have to go to work every day,
Yeah.
and yeah, and
And strip clubs are difficult, man.
sure,
I mean, Walmart is a great place to be at. I mean, no, I'm just saying.
sure.
We haven't been on the air in a long time.
Yeah.
The cobwebs. Got cobwebs coming.
Well, I mean, but like basically all there is like to do if you're an essential worker, you work in say a health industry, or for me, I work in an essential retail. All I'm able to do is work and come home, and that's it.
Yeah.
And let me tell you now, and people can talk about how like they're crammed up in their homes, the ones that that are off from work, that are late out of work, and it's very real. It's a real situation. It's scary. It's tough. But man, when you're out there and working, and literally all you have is work and go home, the stress level gets off the charts.
Yeah, no doubt. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at some point, you need an outlet, and you need something, something that's a familiar outlet. And for you and I, we have sports. That's what we go to. That's we turn to get us through. And look, I made no secret. I've been having a hard time. There's been a lot of other issues other than this in my life. And again, sports is typically what I lean on. And I would think anybody who's searching the web right now and looking for a sports show, you probably are in the same boat sitting at home right now, where, you lean on sports to kind of be your outlet when life sucks. You always have that outlet of being able to turn on whatever sporting event you're into. Right now the NBA playoffs will be on, the NHL playoffs will be going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like baseball would be in full swing.
Here's what I will say, moving to like positive notes of what I see about sports. First of all, I think the NFL has handled COVID-19 the best, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I really
they come from a position of strength as they
not
have.
The biggest Roger Goodell fan. Goodell fan. I really think he's done well with finding a way to still keep the momentum of the NFL draft and everything going without letting shit shut down until it's ready to open back up.
Right. I mean, you couldn't exactly have the draft in, say, September and then say, oh, yeah, by the way, now you guys got to go play for those teams.
Yeah, and, I think Goodell did himself a political good service with being there with popcorn in front of the screen going, well, here's your next pick. Da, 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 da. He looked casual. He looked easygoing. He dropped the corporate facade. He just looked like someone who loves doing the draft. And, Goodell has a ton of enemies and booers out there, as we all know, and anytime he gets out there booing. I thought this was one of his better moments in all the times I've ever seen Goodell. He handled this whole, virtual draft really well.
He came across very human, very likable. Yeah. And did you hear about their auctioned off, a prize for someone to be able to watch a Monday Night Football game in that man cave with them?
Yeah, yeah.
And
I think
all the proceeds going to COVID victims. I think that's really good.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've seen, I think, some true hearts come out of sports towards this, pandemic and whatnot. I think sports can be proud right now how it's been handled kind of across the board. I pride the NFL is doing the best, but everybody's done a really good part in doing the right thing. I mean, other than Dak throwing his party, everybody else has probably done the right thing. But hey, you act out when you think you're supposed to be paid. So what can I say? So that's a good segue into Dak. What about Andy Dalton coming to the Cowboys? I love it. I love it. I love it. The fire has been lit under hit Dak Prescott's ass. If you're not going to play ball, we got a native on our team that with our offense, you don't got to be the best quarterback in the world. He's a good plug-in. I personally, if I'm Jerry Jones right now, I'm like, I wouldn't even franchise Dak. I would have been like, Andy Dalton's my quarterback, dude. Done deal. We're over here. Andy Dalton will take $27 million. We're done here. Like I would have been like, I'll take that $5 million and I'll go find me another good backup receiver or something. So as Mari Cooper goes down, if our other boy goes down, we got one more up. I'll let the offense keep ticking and rolling. So that's just me. I'm not happy with the way Dak's handled this whole thing.
Mhm.
The whole bet on myself thing, cool, until we got to a certain degree. And I'm like, now you're too much to me. You're not worth top value. A lot of people believe in the market value is what you should get. I think you're worth what the owner's willing to pay you on the team that you're on. That's just my philosophy.
Well, yeah. I mean, I understand looking at it and saying, hey, the next guy up is supposed to get X. And, look at that previous guy and say, hey, he got X. I deserve X plus.
Yeah. And I've been quoted on here. I said I think $32 million is a very fair offer. It's close to the top value you can have in the league. It puts him in the top 5 paid regardless. He's not even a top 5 quarterback, but it puts him in the top 5 paid. So I was like, dude, take the freaking deal. It's more money than you're ever going to have. Because if I was to put Dak on the market, I just don't believe any other team's going to give him more than $32 million anywhere. I just don't see it.
Well, and I'll put it to you another way. If the Philadelphia Eagles were to decide to put Carson Wentz on the trade block,
yeah,
and the Dallas Cowboys put Dak Prescott on the trade block, who do you think would fetch more in return?
I think Wentz would fetch more, but I don't think Wentz would get the same paycheck he's already gotten because of his injury prone. I still think he'd get more than Dak, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I think Dak is about, if I had to pick like an actual salary for Dak, and what I really think I'd really pay the guy, I'd pay him $17 million a year. That's what I really think at the end of the day Dak's value is right now. I would give Wentz probably $25 million given the injuries and whatnot a year. But the whole above 30, I don't think either one of them, in my opinion anymore, are the $30 million echelons. Now, if Wentz takes your Eagles to the Super Bowl, Dak takes him to the NFC Championship, let's talk about that. So far, that hasn't happened. So
yeah,
their market value has changed, both of them.
I would agree with that. And once again,
I still think Wentz is a better quarterback than Dak at the end of the day.
Sure. Yeah. And obviously, I'm going to agree with you there.
Yeah.
But now, and I definitely think Dak's a very good quarterback, though.
I think Dak is like your smash mouth, can run and gun. Mm-hmm. A little bit of everything. He's got some balance in him. He's not a complete, like, out of the middle of nowhere like Mahomes or whatnot, but he can still drop out and gun it. And I like that about Dak. That makes Dak is a very versatile quarterback. He has both dimensions to him. He doesn't excel at running the ball. He doesn't excel at completely throwing the ball, but he has both. And I really like that about Dak. And he can take the hits and keep on licking, like take the licks and keep on ticking. Whatever. So That's what I like. Dak is very not injury prone. He's shown to be kind of a tank like quarterback. But to me, that comes with a downside. To me, the heavier you are, the stronger you are built. It seems like the less agile you are to be like that Zoom laser quarterback or things like that.
Sure.
Not counting the two quarterbacks in the league, they're anomalies right now, Lamar Jackson and Mahomes, who doesn't matter what you do, they still seem to pull something out of the hat. But everybody else, it's like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a pimp quarterback, but he's injury prone if he gets hit right? Then you have the guys who can get hit and not get injured, but they don't have the laser arm, and they don't have – Dak is kind of, to me, a little bit of a combo. I told you he reminds me a lot of Steve McNair.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comp, too, Dak to Steve McNair.
Yeah.
And look, I think Dak could have a very big year this year.
He better.
If he keeps his head on straight and put on himself.
Because there is a ginger just doing the little redhead dance right underneath you right now.
Well, I mean, the one thing Dak doesn't have to worry about, he knows that Andy Dalton doesn't have a soul, so he doesn't have to worry about that.
I think this is the year he either earns what he thinks he wants, or we really start to go, thanks for that great year. We're going to go ahead and give Andy Dalton a shot. Now, if Dak doesn't sign, this is what I will say. If he doesn't sign before the season starts and holds out, and there's 2 to 3 games without Dak Prescott, to me, you're opening the door for Andy Dalton to become the permanent starter, in my opinion. Jerry Jones
what an interesting spot that would be.
Jerry Jones is going to become very frustrated very quickly. Yeah.
And look, I think all you need with the weapons that are around them, which we haven't even talked about, we haven't had the chance to talk about the great draft that the Cowboys had with getting CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, we'll get to the draft. We'll get to the draft. I just want, with the Dak conversation, talking about that. My deal with Dak is I do believe Jerry Jones paid Dak. He's done the work. He's put in the
Mhm.
ethic. He's shown he's not injury prone. He's in there for the long term if we do keep him. But Dak, you've got to strike a balance on your side too. You are not the highest paid quality quarterback. Give that up. Drop that from your high horse, and because you are not a market setter. I'm sorry, you're just not. But you are a great value. You're in the echelon of being a highly paid quarterback on a franchise as bar none, the most expensive franchise in the world, technically. So I was
Yeah,
like, sit there and know your place both ways. Know what your value is, but know what your overvalue is to the point to where other options will be seeked. Like at some point, dude, become
yeah.
more realistic with me here.
I mean, look, I think Dak's going to have to concede that he's not going to get the highest contract.
Yeah.
But I think the Cowboys are going to have to concede that they're going to have to go a little bit further than they're comfortable with.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I think right now, before Dalton, I said Dak had the advantage in the situation and the leverage, and now I think the Cowboys have the leverage with Dalton there. Because Dalton can carry the Cowboys through a season, even if he's not the guy we're going to stick with. He could carry us through.
Yeah, and look, with the weapons that they have on offense, I think if you just have a guy who's a good distributor, he doesn't have to be a playmaker himself. Like he just has to get the
Dak's
ball
been
in
called
the
up
hands
as
of
the
his
game manager. Well, Dalton's to
Yeah,
me, if we go by game management ability, well, Dalton's better than you as a game manager. I think Dak's more
yeah.
athletic than Dalton is. I think Dalton has a better arm, in my opinion, than Dak does, though, from an accuracy standpoint.
And Dalton, with the years of experience, I got to believe like he's just not going to make the big mistake.
Yeah.
And not that Dak made huge mistakes, but I mean, look, every quarterback makes some.
Katy, Texas, man. Katy, Texas quarterback Andy Dalton in the house on the Cowboys. Looking at the draft, like if we want to
Mhm.
switch modes and talk about that, the Cowboys and the Eagles did exactly what I thought they'd do. They went and got
Yeah,
the receivers that have been hurting, on both teams for a very long time. You know,
right. The Cowboys definitely got that complimentary piece for Amari Cooper.
he doesn't have the speed though. Lamb, I'm a little like, I'm glad we got him. We need
He's a
him.
great route runner.
I
He's
need to watch him. I
Yeah.
didn't watch him enough in college to feel like, oh yeah, dude, we killed it. We needed a receiver. I'm happy we got one. Period.
Hmm.
I just don't know if I'm buying into the hype that he's like the ultimate. Michael Irvin's all about this kid. Michael Irvin personally met with him his sophomore year in college. Like Michael Irvin's like he is basically me coming to the Dallas Cowboys as a young guy. And I don't see that personally, but I'm not Michael Irvin. He'd know better than I. But because I don't see the speed in Lamb that I want to see, that's my only concern there. But hey, I've seen the non-fastest receivers be badass receivers in the league. So
Oh, sure. If you run a great route, know how to high point the football.
yeah, you know how to make the right cut at the right time.
Yeah,
You're not running a straight line. What does it matter? Wes Welker wasn't the fastest guy. Look how many freaking catches that dude ended up with.
sure.
So it's all about that. But yeah, I think the Eagles did a good job too. Like I think
Yeah, I
these were
love
both good drafts for both teams.
Mhm.
Did you get to see the video of Jerry Jones with a phone? Different women bringing him a phone.
Yeah,
The
that was-
dude didn't even hold a phone. He's like, I'm not getting corona. And I want everybody to bring me a phone to be a good looking woman. Go ahead, put it on my ear. Like I was like, what in the?
What about me?
Like, I know you're a pimp, but God, I didn't know you're that much of a freaking pimp
Right.
on a yacht during the draft, virtual with multiple women giving you phones. Pimp.
Which, by the way, that whole thing, I will say, I want to see in the future, even without coronavirus, I want to see more of that like family interaction with the coaches and their families
Yeah.
and GM stuff. Like that was such a cool setup. Like I would like to see them be able to incorporate that more, and this time not out of necessity.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really see, to me, this wasn't the most exciting draft, but we both talked about it before. I said I think it would be a very solid draft. And to me, it was. It was a very solid draft for everybody. I didn't see any teams where I'm like, what the fuck were you thinking? The only bad
Right.
move I saw all year when it comes to getting new players is Bill O'Brien letting Hopkins go for a freaking running back and a pick. Worst move I think I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, that was definitely a head scratcher.
I don't know what's going on there. Hopkins said it wasn't personal. He's okay with it, whatnot. I'm like, look, I think you're being professional. I think him and Hopkins probably argued a lot about something or something like that. If I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm like, I want out. I want out, man.
Yeah,
They're
well,
the ones I need.
I think the reason why Hopkins said that is look at the situation he's in now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's in a better
Coach Cliff
situation.
Kingsbury, who's who's a brilliant young head coach. Kyler Murray, the young quarterback coming there, and he's got Larry Fitzgerald on the other side with him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in a real good spot for him.
Yeah, so I said I don't think he has anything to say. I think Deshaun Watson has a lot to say.
If I was Deshaun Watson, I'd be pretty pissed.
I don't remember what his tweets were, but they weren't good.
No, he was not happy.
So if I had to give the Cowboys a grade, I'd give them a B plus. I don't think they were A. I don't think we did anything crazy stellar. I think we plugged exactly what we needed. We needed a receiver. A lot of people thought we were going to go defense. We did later in the rounds or whatnot. A lot of people thought we might go get a big lineman or a big defensive guy or something like that. Mm-hmm. I'm glad he stuck to enriching the offense, and we're an offensive league now. So I care more about the offense right now.
I think what he did is he looked at it and just said, "Hey, this is the best player on my board."
Yeah, I can't pass it up. I didn't think this dude would be here. He is. We got to take him. Yeah.
It was also a case of looking behind you. The Eagles were creeping up. They were only a couple picks away. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be the team that passed on CeeDee Lamb so that you could end up on the Eagles and burning you twice a year.
Yeah. So what would you grade the Eagles on their draft?
I'd say B minus. And the reason why I go B minus, I loved pretty much every one of their picks. The only pick that I scratched my head on was the second round pick of Jalen Hurts.
And dude. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot about that. That was strange. I didn't see that coming.
It was curious. I mean, if you want to say best player on the board, okay. I mean, I
was surprised Jalen Hurts fell so far, personally.
Sure.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. I thought he'd go a little higher.
I mean, looking at that, it was pick 53. And I was thinking, man, we really needed to get a good, AJ Penza was sitting right there for the Eagles. And I thought he should have been the pick. I thought he could have gone as high as 14 to Atlanta. And there he was sitting at pick 53.
You know what did you guys end up paying Jalen Hurts? You know what his salary contract is?
Well, that's all slated out based on how they're drafted. So
right, I'm gonna look at it right now. Let me see.
Yeah, so I haven't really taken.
I mean, obviously, it's inexpensive either way.
Yeah, but I wanted them to pick AJ Penza. Of course, the guy I wanted the Eagles to get in the first round was CeeDee Lamb, and the Cowboys took him a couple picks ahead of us. In the second round, I love this guy, and I've been pounding the table on every one of my shows for Trayvon Diggs, whether it be in the first round or if he somehow slipped to the second round. And damn it, if the Cowboys didn't take the other guy I freaking wanted out of this draft. Two guys I wanted out of this draft, the Cowboys stole them right out from underneath us.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Well, that's why I gave us a plus, because I was like, look, they didn't go like, okay, we need to plug these spots. They also said, hey, man, there's this talent here. We don't really need them, but someone else is going to get them if we don't take them and they're there. So I like the aggressiveness. That's why I gave them the plus. Had they not done that, a little bit of that, I would have been like, and they played it safe. It was solid, B minus, B.
Right.
Yeah. So I give them the plus for being a little aggressive.
But, from the Eagles' standpoint, my mindset going into this offseason was they had to get younger and they had to get faster. And now, look, in the draft, everybody's going to be younger, so you're going to achieve that, no matter who you took. But the speed, I mean, between not only Rieger, but the other guys, the Quez Watkins and John Hightower, the two receivers they took in the later rounds, those guys are lightning quick. The kid, the safety out of Clemson that they took, reminds a lot of people of Brian Dawkins. And so I love what they did. They got obviously younger because that's what you're going to do in the draft, but they got faster. And that was what I talked about a lot. We needed big play guys, either receivers who made them or DBs who defended them. And they went out and got exactly that.
Well, and I think, again, this is, giving the Eagles some credit here. The Eagles have a system built in where, no offense to Wentz, but you could bring someone of good talent, not as good as Wentz, and they're still going to win a lot of games on the Eagles because the Eagles have the right coaching.
And I think
they've elevated quarterbacks that normally don't elevate to the level they do on the Eagles. And that's why I'm like, hey, Wentz gets hurt, Jalen Hurts is a great person to put in there, get him mentored, get him ready to go. Of course, the first year, I don't know how to do the first year, but once
Sure.
he's in the league 1 to 3 years, the guy's going to be a great backup to somebody. And honestly, if I had to look at Jalen Hurts' career, if he doesn't ever take over for Wentz over bad injury or something like that, I see him being like a Teddy Bridgewater type quarterback.
Yeah, but look at Hurts' career in college. Like, this is a guy who, understood and had to face some adversity.
Yeah.
And so bringing him in a situation where, hey, you're going to be asked to be in a backup role, most likely. And if you do see playing time, it will probably be in an adverse situation where we need you to come up big. So why not get a guy who has been in adverse situations where he's had to come in either with injuries or poor play, and he has had to, respond to the adversity. And so Jalen Hurts makes a lot of sense there, if that's what you're looking for in your backup quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look 2 ways. You can either scratch your head like you did, and I did think it was a little odd at first, but then I thought about it. I'm like, no, I think it's actually an overall really good pick for the Eagles. I wouldn't mind having Jalen Hurts as backup on my team. I take Andy Dalton over him, but Jalen Hurts is by all means, if you can mold him into his talent, so he can transfer to the NFL correctly. I mean, excellent freaking backup. And I'm gonna guess the salary is gonna be about $800K. I don't have any. I couldn't find any info. $800K seems to be like about the backup, new quarterback kind of thing. So,
and look, Doug Peterson he's a former backup quarterback himself, and so he'll be in Jalen Hurts' ear talking to him about what kind of preparation. How do you prepare for this role of being a backup quarterback? Right. And that's going to be having that right there and a head coach to be able to go and talk to. It's like, okay, what is the preparation really like? I know they always say prepare as if you're the starter, but how do you do that knowing you're not actually taking any snaps?
Yeah.
Doug Peterson can really get in there and really help mold the head of Jalen Hurts, and I think it's going to be good for his career.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's what I said. I don't think anybody, put it this way, any team that I care about or have any interest in, I think everybody did pretty well. I don't feel this wasn't a flashy draft. First of all, it's a virtual draft, so it wasn't going to be flashy anyways. But there was no mega name that was going to change the landscape to me coming out of this. This was a good players that are going to be solid, maybe even great players. But I didn't see any like, oh my God, we got some goats coming out of this, generation of picks.
Right. And it's funny. They always say like, in the draft, you build your team on like, you have the first round on Thursday, second and third round on Friday, and then rounds 4 through 7 on Saturday. And they would say you build your team on Saturday with those solid core guys. I feel like this was one of those drafts where it's like everything was just solid. This is where you build your team. It's not all about superstars. It's you build it by hitting on draft picks in the 2020 draft.
Yeah, I mean, and look, we got Tua out there. We can't leave him off the list of who we talk about. He had a funny endorsement. I thought Mark Sanchez was like, "Oh, he's going to be a great quarterback." I'm like, "All right, dude, calm down." It's Mark Sanchez here. Let's not get carried away because he says someone's going to be great.
He got really excited and talking about it, and then when he got up from the couch to go get some drink, he ran into some guy's butt.
And he goes, "Oh my God, Tua, what's up?" Shook his hand. I don't know. Tua, I think Tua is overrated. I don't see the craziness that people see about Tua. I think Jalen Hurts is always a better quarterback than Tua, in my opinion. In that game where they put Jalen Hurts in, he ended up almost bringing him back from the brink of disaster from Tua getting his femur shattered or whatever, his hip. I can't remember. I think it was hip. Yeah. But, in that game, I'm just sitting there going, I just think Jalen Hurts is more solid, especially if you already have a good system. If you need a quarterback to come in and change things like Lamar, where you need like some freaking someone to do a lightning bolt in the middle of nowhere. I just think Jalen Hurts, if you're like the Eagles, if you're like the Pats, if you're like the Cowboys, if you already have these structured offenses that basically you can plug in decent talent and win games, Jalen Hurts is your guy. I think Tua reminds me of someone you put on like the Miami Dolphins and let him go crazy and see if we can win more games than normal. Like, so.
Well, now, and it's funny you mentioned in there in conversation where Jalen Hurts would have been successful maybe even in somewhere like New England. What do you think about the Patriots not addressing the quarterback position? Not only not in free agency, but not in the draft at all.
Yeah, I was actually very surprised. I was surprised the Pats didn't get Dalton personally. I
Yeah,
thought Dalton would have been an excellent quarterback for them. He's a Christian guy. He's very like structured and quiet. Leads a very simple life. I thought, hey, they're going to plug him in. He's the kind of guy who doesn't talk, stupid to the media or anything. Doesn't show off. He's humble. I thought he was perfect, and they didn't get him. I was really surprised we were able to get him.
yeah. I was surprised that he was there for the Cowboys. So I thought he made a lot of sense
Yeah.
going to the New England Patriots as well. It's funny. I look at them, man. The Patriots. Like, what do you think happens to them this year?
I think this may be the Patriots 8-8 season. This may be the season where it's more break even. It's not a runaway season. And like I said, we talked about in the last segment, even though we couldn't hear you talk, you could hear me when I said, I really do think that we're going to find out if Belichick is the coach he thinks he is without Brady. We're going to find out. It's Brady's decision making and his composure and his clutch. Part of the reason why him combined with Belichick, they were so good. And now that half is gone, is another quarterback going to, when in those situations are big and you need the clutch, is that other quarterback going to do the wrong thing, throw the interception, screw it all up, give the other team points right off the bat? We're going to find out. I got some wagers going on with friends about what I think that's going to be, but I'm real curious to see that play out, how that goes.
Well, now I'm curious as to which side of the fence you sit on.
Okay, so I break it up in a little bit more of a percent because I just don't think you can really have one without the other. Montana, Chuck Noll. I go through all these things and I look at, offenses, or not Chuck Noll, I'm sorry. I look at these things and I think, coach, quarterbacks are all of history. And I'm like, well, the reason some of these guys won is look who they had in combination. In other words, Lamar Jackson didn't come to the Ravens and just tear it up. He came to Hardball's Ravens, and Harbaugh was able to help sculpt that to let Lamar run free. So if I had to pick right now, I lean more Patriot system
Okay.
than I do Brady by like 10%. But in the end, if someone says, do I think Belichick will succeed without Brady? No, I don't. And the reason I say that is when they're together, I think Belichick is able to make more happen with Brady around him. But I think it's much harder to me, in my opinion, to find a good quarterback than it is to find a good, solid head coach. Like a lot of us go, oh, well, there's not many head coaches to pick from. Well, I'm like, that's because the people who are on the team suck. They suck at management, so they make choices that are safe so that they're comfortable, not what's best for the team.
Right.
And that sucks. So when I look at Brady going down there to be in the Bucs, he's got a decent coach. I'm like, I think Brady's going to have a more successful season than Belichick's going to have with the Pats. That's because I think it's much easier for Brady to be with a decent coach than it's going to be for Belichick to find a magical quarterback. And that's just my opinion. So I think Brady has the edge. So if someone said today, who is going to be more successful, the Bucs or the Pats, I'm going to lean the Bucs right now. But not by like, oh, the Bucs are going to be 13. No, I think the Bucs are going to be 10-win team. I think the Pats are going to be 8-win team. I see about a two win split in there. So nothing drastic. I don't think the Pats are going to fall to freaking 3-14 or something like that,
Right.
crazy or anything like that. Although that would be freaking hilarious. Because I'd be like, hey, you might as well go coach the Browns now. You're going to suck like that, you might as well go coach the Browns.
And it's funny because that's where Bill Belichick started his coaching.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. I mean. You might as well go back. Speaking of the Browns, I think the Browns are going to suck. So
yeah,
this is such an interesting season with the COVID thing going on, Dak's contract,
get there,
Brady, Belichick. Like this is just the season's cool because it's just different. We're going into like a different feeling going in 2020.
It's a new decade, and boy, are things going to be different.
Now, let me ask you this? I haven't been able to look it up. Is Breeze staying or did Breeze?
No, Breeze is staying in New Orleans.
Okay, I was not able to catch up with the Saints news yet.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to find it out, like about minicamp and whatnot. Of course, it's all been canned because of COVID. But
yeah,
I was trying to find out, like, okay, is he going to show up? Do you say I'm going to do a minicamp, but I'll be there for the season? I wasn't able to find anything about that.
He'll be a part of everything. They're allowed to be a part of.
And so it's probably safe to assume this is probably Breeze's last year. Then
I would.
You got to think about this one. Usually, when you think about it and you do it, that means this one's probably it.
Right. And it's funny. I think we're about at the end for a number of great quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Philip Rivers.
Yeah.
You know,
Aaron Rodgers, I would say 3 years.
2 to 3 years. Yeah.
I think if you give Rodgers a couple of really good injuries, I think Rodgers is gonna be like, guys, it's not worth it.
Sure.
Yeah. But what I will say is,
Mhm.
I think it's funny. The Rodgers debate reminds me of the Michael Jordan versus LeBron debate.
Yeah.
And we should get into that because, man, boy, do me and my friends have some heated arguments about Michael Jordan and LeBron James. That's some hilarious arguments we have. But
I think it's so funny the way that people fight about Jordan and LeBron. And it's usually a generational thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then for me,
yeah,
like I don't care about any of that. Like I've watched every LeBron championship he's been in. I've watched every Michael Jordan championship, and I'm like, hands down, Michael Jordan. Are you kidding me? I'm like, are you kidding me? And I was like, because people are like, well, regular season, look how many points. I was like, dude, you played the game to win the championships. In the end, that tells you who is the best at the end of the day. Everything else, all the stats. Dan Marino had stats at the wazoo. The dude did not get a Super Bowl. Therefore, he doesn't even get mentioned in half of those conversations. LeBron, I watched LeBron physically and mentally give up in the middle of playing the Spurs. When he went to the sideline, he looked like he didn't give a shit anymore. And they still had 2 games to play. He looked like he's just like –
it was like game 3.
Michael Jordan looked like, I will break your teeth. I don't care if we're down 99 points. I'm coming for you. He was like – he wanted your blood, man. And unless of course, generations now can't see it unless they go back and watch it. Mm-hmm. But when you watch Michael Jordan, dude, his fire, on the practice field, off the court, on the court, his fire was never ending. He was still competitive.
Yeah. My cousin, who
are you watching what I told you about? The Last Dance? Have you watched it?
I've got like all 8 episodes in the DVR. I'm gonna binge watch.
It's good. Yeah. Like you can see a side of Michael Jordan that does 2 things. That makes you go, wow, I never knew that about him. And it also makes you go, God damn it, I miss watching Michael Jordan play basketball.
But like I said, my cousin who, he's about 17 or so years younger than me. So he's, he didn't get to watch Michael Jordan.
He's 50?
But, he says to me, he's like, Eric, he's like, what makes Michael Jordan better than LeBron? He's like, because so many people said, well, physically, LeBron is a better physical player than Michael Jordan. And I said to him, like, dude, the difference is, in the heat of the moment, Michael Jordan was a stone killer.
Yeah.
Like
I'd want him with the ball over any player I can ever think of in basketball. I'm like, he's the one that you give him the ball, the moment does not defeat him. He is ready for it.
I said, when Michael Jordan and like all in like 93, I really thought the Phoenix Suns were going to win the NBA championship with Charles Barkley and that group they had there. And I said, when they showed up in game 1 of the NBA Finals against the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls knew they were going to win. Charles Barkley and the Phoenix Suns knew the Chicago Bulls were going to win.
Yeah.
You could just see it.
Yeah.
And it was.
Ask me, why would I put Michael Jordan like you? I'd say clutch, number 1. Mm-hmm. And someone might say, well, LeBron's had a lot more clutch moments, if not, or whatnot. I said, yeah, but you know what? Michael Jordan played way better fucking competition than LeBron ever played. Those teams were physical. They were physical, way more physical back then than they are now.
Well, that legendary shot that Michael Jordan hits to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers and he does that fist bump. Why do you think he does that? Because it was so freaking hard to beat that team, to advance. You don't do that if
that shot I ever saw
everybody.
And we've all seen the when he played the Utah Jazz and he hit that shot, and you just saw Karl Malone's just soul leave his body. Like he got. We know if he has the ball, and we know it's the end of the game. We know he can beat us. Don't let him have the ball. Don't let him have the shot. You let him have the ball. You let him have the shot, and he beat us. Like predictable script, and we still let him do it. Like his soul was just like, I can't believe it.
As soon as I saw the ball get into his hands, I knew that the Bulls were winning that game.
I remember when he took the shot. It was 1998, if I believe.
Yeah.
I remember he took the shot, and I just went, and then I looked, and Michael Jordan was doing the. And I was like, Oh my God. I was like, dude, I couldn't tell the story and make anybody believe me if there wasn't video. No one would believe me how many highlights this dude has. No one.
Well, and another difference is like when we were kids, I don't know if you were like me, like where I had such a tendency to see like this greatness in somebody like a Michael Jordan and think, damn it, he's got to be dethroned. Someone's got to beat him. And so you found yourself rooting against him in all these key moments. And like
he became him and Brady. Like Brady, it's like, dude, I like you, but stop winning fucking Super Bowls, bro. It's like,
right. And my cousin couldn't understand this. He's like, "What do you mean you constantly rooted against greatness?" I'm like, "Dude, when he was."
Oh, no, I always mean. Well,
yeah,
I see where you're coming from, and you're an underdog type guy.
Right.
I always rooted for Michael Jordan because I was very competitive. Sports. All-state track, all-state football, baseball, scholarship. Everything was competitive in my nature, so I respected.
I was competitive.
I respected Michael Jordan. That he just seemed like he didn't seem like very often. Like I see him on the court, not saying much. I like that he wasn't politically active. I don't want you to be a politician. I want you to play the game. He was asked recently on the show that you're going to watch, and he gave a really good line. They asked him, "How come you never?" He goes, "I was a basketball player. That's where my energy was. Some people might say it's selfish. I'm okay with that." I was a basketball player. That's what I wanted to do. That's my passion. I wasn't interested in the other shit.
Well, I always hate when the athletes do that. Not only look, you can have whatever political opinion you want, but if you're going to go there, you better know what you're talking about.
I don't know what it is. LeBron gives me a very crybaby feeling about him. Like he always seems
things that
off, annoyed. He doesn't seem angry. He just seems like he's throwing a miniature fit inside his head during a lot of the games. And sometimes I've seen him get mad. I'm justified, but I see it too often. It's just too often.
I'm trying to think of here. The last
when he got mad when he was playing in Cleveland, the dude didn't know the clock, and he's like, "Dude, you remember the championship game?" He's like, "Dude, time was expiring. What were you doing? How'd you not know that?" Totally understood that one. But there are other times he's just he looks flustered. I never saw Michael Jordan look flustered. I saw Michael Jordan basically going, "Put me back on the court. I want to kill this guy." Yeah.
But the crybaby stuff. I remember an instance. I think it was his last season in Cleveland before he left the first time to go to Miami, and they'd run all these commercials about LeBron versus Kobe, and that was going to be the NBA Finals. And then they lose in the Eastern Conference semis.
Yeah, but it didn't meet. Mm-hmm.
And at the end, when he stormed off the court and didn't shake hands, just stormed off, ripped his jersey off, and a lot of people tried to say, "Oh, he was so competitive, and it was just that was the fiery side of him." And I get all that, but this is where Michael Jordan wouldn't have done something like that. And that was the first time. And I wasn't one of those guys who did that a lot, talking because I'd like to say that, hey, look, Michael Jordan, in my mind, is the greatest basketball player of all time. LeBron James is a solid number 2, and man, that's not to sneeze at.
See, and I don't even put him at number 2. LeBron James to me is a number 4. And
that means he's hot garbage. He's the 4th best player in the history
ever. Not right now amongst current ever. And I'm kind of some people are insulted. I'm you're fucking nuts. But I think it all depends. I've noticed this. The way you look at baseball, the way you look at basketball, you look at football. Some people value your Aaron Rodgers is so talented. He's the best quarterback I've ever seen and whatnot. And I'm very Super Bowl and championships. Tell me who the best is. Everything else tells me how good you are without your team. That's all it tells me. And so if we're saying greatest player of all time, someone might go, well, that's individual. I'm like, no, it's not. Because without the team, you can't have the championship. So the individual can't have the accolades of a championship unless he's got the team.
And it's so funny.
Unless the team will follow him. I don't believe everybody on every team wants to follow LeBron James.
Well, and it's so funny. I think baseball is the one sport where it's just all about the numbers. You can talk about the greatest baseball player of all time.
Baseball's slower, though. It's not back and forth. You know what I mean?
Most people, but it's just the difference of the matchups. Yeah. You can be an all-time great baseball player, but you're one of 9, and your role is not greater than what, say, any of the other guys' role is. Unless you're a starting pitcher. But then if you're a starting pitcher, you're only playing one every 5 days.
Yeah.
So Babe Ruth, most people consider the greatest baseball player of all time. You have any idea how many World Series he won? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's so odd, but I could sit here and tell you he hit 714 home runs in his career.
Yeah, I mean, look, my favorite baseball player is Mickey Mantle. A lot of people might go, well, dude, Roger Maris is the one that I'm like, yeah, Mickey Mantle is my personality. He played the game the way I think you should enjoy it. Had a good time, had women, had drinks, just enjoyed himself. And I'm like, to me, he was an all around just better player at handling the game. Roger Maris had his like window, kicked ass, and then kind of faded after that. Whereas Mantle was just consistent all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, he had his injuries and whatnot, but point is, it's like that. And someone else is like, well, okay, what about a newer generation? I'm like, well, I like Maddox. I was a big Braves fan. I love the Braves back in the day. They were the Bills of the NFL. We can get there 100 times, but we can't win them ever.
But I liked Maddox for his time with the Cubs. That was when because me being a big Cubbies fan.
I've never heard of the Cubs, so I don't know there, but I'll take your word for it. Some probably Chicago, but I know Chicago Black Sox, White Sox. 1921 cheaters. I know all that shit. That's all I know about Chicago, man. I don't know about any Cubs.
It was 1919, but I did a whole report on it in high school.
Oh, really? Yeah. It was 1919 because Prohibition had just begun. Yep.
Yeah.
How about that? Hey, what's up, Black Sox? Want a drink? Psych!
Hey, why don't you drink to that World Series? You're not gonna win.
Nice. Well, final thoughts.
Well, hey, look, the schedule came out. You know what? We didn't even really get into the NFL schedule. It's funny, that was going to be our big head.
Well, we can do it real quick. I mean, we got 4 minutes.
Yeah. So I mean, based on the schedule, what do you think of your? We'll each go. What do you think of your Dallas Cowboys? What kind of?
Let me bring up their schedule because I know the first 2 games, but I like to look at the first quarter at least.
Well, want me to give you my thoughts on the Eagles then, and you
do it while I'm doing this.
So I definitely think this is it lays out really well for the Eagles to start off good. They got the Redskins and then the Rams and then the Bengals week 3. So I love that lays out really well to start off 3-0. And then before they go into San Francisco on Sunday Night Football,
Oof.
Which is going to be a tough matchup.
That's a test right there, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think it lays out. I predicted 11-5, and I think it's going to be around there 10-6, 11-5. I think they are a team that their ceiling is a 12-4. Their floor is 9-7. So I'm picking them to go is around the 10-6, 11-5.
Okay, I have the Cowboys at 10-6 this year, as from what I can see, and I think most of their wins will be at the beginning of their schedule. Their schedule is to me pretty weak in the beginning. Of course, some of these teams start to show a little flair every once in a while, so they could capsize. But, they got the Rams, the Falcons, the Seahawks, the Browns, the Giants, the Cardinals, the Redskins, and then the Eagles, and then the Steelers. It gets harder once they hit the Eagles. Right. Then their second half's much harder. But that first part, I'm like, we can beat every one of those teams. So to me, right off the bat, you're looking at 1, 2, 4, 6, 7. So I see 7 wins almost right there. But I think once you get to the second half, I'm like, then you got the Vikings, the Ravens, the Niners, the Eagles. All of a sudden, it starts getting like, oh, shit, we ran into a brick wall, So we'll see how that second half goes. But I think no matter what, we're going to end up around 10 wins because I think we can get 3 wins out of the end of our season. But I think the majority of our wins, I think we feel real good about ourselves in the first half of the season. The second half, I think we're like hanging on. So that's my prediction on, our schedule or whatnot. But I mean, what do you think? We haven't even talked about. What do you think about the preseason games being shortened and the season being a game longer? I'm happy about it.
I love that.
Very close to what me and you talked about. We would like to see. But me and you wanted an 18-game season and a 2-game preseason. Well, we got a 17 and a 3-game preseason. I'll take that. It's better than the 4-game preseason was just.
Well, yeah, that was just
boring.
Wasting a month with that.
Now I know the coaches and the teams would say, "Hey, we need that time," but I'm like, "Hey, we're the fans. We don't."
Yeah, and we're the fans, and you're televising this product, and you're expecting us to pay top dollar for it.
Yeah,
not top.
I think my deal with that is y'all need to play more summer camp games against each other to find out what you're down is. Keep it off airwaves, and y'all figure that out on your own.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I think that's a fair compromise. Yeah. I'd be all in favor of staying at 17 regular season games and going down to 2 preseason games.
Yeah.
and saying that and you put in two inter team scrimmages, so like like the Eagles and the Ravens and the Eagles and the Patriots, or like the Cowboys and the Texans. Like you can match up with and the Cowboys and the Chargers or something like that. Can
Yeah, yeah. Like play some off people just to get some
Mhm.
different stuff in there. Makes you see things you won't see not in your conference. Yeah.
And I always like the idea of in the preseason, I would want to like if you're giving me the option to schedule, I would want to schedule, one pretty close. I would want to travel one time. I would want to get my team on a trip so they could get used to that idea that we're gonna have to travel somewhere. You're gonna be living in a hotel for like a day or two, and but to get like especially the young guys, get them accustomed to that role in the NFL. So like I always use the example of the Eagles because they're my team. So like I would want them to at least take a trip out to like say a Green Bay or a Chicago where you have to fly there. It's not like a quick
Yeah.
bus trip up to New York.
Yeah, look, I mean,
Yeah.
I want my teams to play some talent, but I don't want to freaking stress us out and go over the globe or anything crazy like that. The idea is to have us fresh for the beginning when the games actually count. But I want us to play some talent so that we're toughened before the season starts. I don't want us looking out of shape. I don't want us, we're playing, we have less scrimmages now on TV, less preseason, so we're just basically laxing around a little more.
Right.
It's harder to keep them motivated. We're not actually active. So I get that from a coach's
Now,
standpoint.
I'm curious. I didn't happen to take notice, and this just came across my mind right now. I wonder, has there been? Are we still having the games in London this year?
Probably not. I would have guessed no.
Yeah, I wouldn't
At
have
least look.
no.
So far, I mean, look, they're not. I can tell you, the Cowboys aren't playing in London or Mexico
No, the
or
Eagles
anywhere
are
else.
listening.
So
I'm
everything just has.
that just came to my mind here. I haven't heard anybody talk about it. If they just decided, hey, you know what, given everything going on, and I would completely understand. But
Yeah, well, I think the NFL is like, hey, we might want to schedule a game, but how do we know at that point if Europe's like, no, we don't want it? Then we have to go reshuffle. They're like, why even do that? Let's just wait a year from now and have those conversations a year from now and get through this season as
although
it
it seems like Europe and everybody else is kind of ahead of us in this whole thing. They got it before
Well,
we.
medically, they've always been ahead of us. So, I mean, UK is like the place for medical stuff. Most of the UK journals and stuff like that are read by US medical doctors. But it's funny. So tonight, I'm actually going to watch the 2015 movie that I've never seen, Concussion, where Will Smith plays a doctor who found the ex-Pittsburgh guy that basically lost his mind and took his life. And then he investigated why, and he found out he thought it was from concussions. He's the one that started investigating the NFL for the protocol. So I'm curious to watch this movie and see what I get. So the next time we have our chat next week on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock, I'm going to update you on what I think about that movie. I don't know if you've seen it.
No, I haven't, and
Okay.
so I think I'm going to try to find that this weekend.
Yeah. It's called Concussion.
Yeah,
It's basically the trailer basically shows Will Smith. This doctor, this doctor treats this guy for a long time. He basically comes in there one day and he's like, "I'm going crazy. I'm losing my mind." He freaking starts pulling his teeth out and super gluing them back in. I mean, the dude lost his mind. He's an ex-Steelers player. So the doctor starts going to football games and watching the collisions. And he's a neuro brain surgeon. So he takes the brain. He said, "Here's the brain." He puts it in a bottle of water. He goes, "Your brain's not actually attached to any of your skull. But when you shake it around like that, every time you take a hit, your brain's just smashing against the skull wall." He's saying there was creating miniature hemorrhages all throughout the brain that can make you suicidal. Now, of course, CTE is a huge debatable item on how many guys have actually committed suicide statistically because of it and whatnot. So I'm really curious to see this because I've been a big kind of on the fence, not really sure how I feel about it. I'm curious. And of course, I always take into account the director, what they're trying to, if they're against it or for it, or what they're trying to push on me. Mm-hmm. I take all that into account. So I'm really curious to see what I come away. So I'm going to, if you do watch it, let me know and we'll talk about it on the next segment.
Definitely. Yeah.
So anyways, that's all I got.
All right. Everybody have a great week. Be sure to check out all the Phillyverse, all the shows starting on Mondays with Football Smack Talk show. Then Tuesday nights, you've got the broadcast with Ryan and Ryan. And Wednesday nights, of course, right here exclusively on YouTube. Me and Landry here. Yeah, killing it as always. And then Thursday nights, all things wrestling on the Tables, Ladders, and Chairs podcast. Check out Phillyverse. Check out Facebook and facebook.com/Phillyverse. And you'll have all the information, all the links to all the shows. So everybody, thanks for joining us. Stay safe. Make sure to keep that social distance, washing your hands.
Wear those body condoms.
Yes, definitely.
Naked gun. Body condom.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Bye,
know,
Doc.